Hey everyone, have you ever felt like you're just kind of navigating life in the dark? Well, today we're going to shine a light on a really timeless guide from the book of Ephesians, chapter 5. It's an amazing passage that gives us a super clear choice, a life lived in darkness or a life lived as a child of light. So let's dive in and explore what that really means for us.
So here's the big question, right? What can this ancient text teach us about our modern lives? I mean, how can its words actually challenge and guide the way we live, day in and day out? Okay, let's find out together.
So the passage kicks things off with this incredibly bold, you could almost say audacious command. It doesn't just say, hey, be a better person. Nope. It says be imitators of God. And this right here, this is the core idea. It's the absolute foundation for everything else that follows. It's a call to completely reshape our lives around a new divine pattern.
But you might be thinking, how is that even possible? Well, the text immediately gives us the key. See, it's not about achieving perfection all on your own. It's about walking in a specific kind of love, that same selfless, sacrificial love Christ showed. This love becomes the very essence of this new way of life, almost like a sweet-smelling offering.
Now, to really get what it means to walk in the light, we first have to understand what we're supposed to leave behind. The passage calls these the fruitless deeds of darkness, basically actions that just don't fit with this new identity.
And here's where it gets specific. The text lists things like sexual immorality and impurity, but also greed, which, and this is really interesting, it connects directly to idolatry, worshiping the wrong things. It also points to the words we use, obscenity, foolish talk, and crude jokes. The big idea here is that these actions are seen as belonging to a totally different way of living.
The text is super clear on this point. It advises against partnering up with or taking part in these behaviors. This is a call for an intentional separation, not from a place of thinking you're better than anyone else, but from a simple understanding that you're just on a completely new path now.
Okay, now this right here is a huge shift. This isn't just about changing what you do. It's about a total change in who you are. The text says you weren't just in darkness, you were darkness. But now in the Lord, you are light. This is really the turning point of the entire passage.
So if your very identity has changed that dramatically, from darkness to light, what does that actually look like in your daily life? Well, the passage gives us a clear, positive command. Live out who you are now. Walk as children of light.
And just like there are deeds of darkness, there's also the fruit of the light. And just look at the contrast here. Instead of impurity and greed, this new life produces goodness, righteousness, and truth. You can think of goodness as active kindness, righteousness as living with integrity, and truth as being deeply authentic. These aren't just a list of rules, they're the natural outcome of living in the light.
Walking in the light isn't some one-time decision and you're done. It's an ongoing journey. The text encourages us to constantly be learning and discerning, to really figure out what pleases God in every situation. It's much more like a living conversation than a static checklist you have to follow.
All right, now let's see how this all builds. The passage moves from our core identity as light to the practical wisdom we need to actually live it out day by day. So it's not just about what we do, but how we do it, with real intention.
So what does it mean to walk wisely, according to this text? Well, it breaks it down into three key things. First, be intentional. Be careful about how you live. Second, make every opportunity count, because our time is valuable. And third, actively try to understand God's will, which you'll notice ties right back to that idea of discernment we just talked about.
This all sounds great, right? But where do we get the strength to live this way? The passage is really clear. We can't do it on our own. It points us to a divine source of power, and it contrasts that source sharply with some worldly alternatives.
And wow, this comparison is incredibly stark. The text says don't look for joy or escape in things like wine, which can lead to losing control. Instead, it offers an alternative. Be filled with the Holy Spirit, a totally different kind of influence that brings life, not destruction.
So what's the result of all this? Well, being filled with the Spirit isn't described as some private mystical feeling. It has real, practical outcomes that show up in community. It overflows into worship, into genuine gratitude for everything, and into this posture of humility and mutual submission, which really just means valuing others and putting their needs right up there with your own. It's all about building relationships, not tearing them down.
And so, we come full circle, right back to a question for you.
As this passage so beautifully shows, light has a purpose. It reveals things. So as you think about all this, what is the light showing you in your own life? What might you need to leave behind in the darkness, and what new fruit of the light is ready to grow?